Hello, my name is Lina, Calin, and I am a project manager at Sparkbox. We heard from Ben in his talk on selling design systems some very important points to get funding for your design system project based on 8 internal and external motivators. But once you've gotten your funding and approval, it's not quite time to stop selling. Your design system is a tool that will help your entire organization, but it needs to be adopted across your teams and team members to be effective. If you're struggling with how to get folks on board with this new way of working, trust me when I say you're not alone. Working with clients on design system projects and in our annual design system survey, we see again and again how one of the greatest challenges that organizations face with their design systems is building buy-in across their organization. In our time together today, we'll talk about why building buy-in is critical for a design system, how to go about building that buy-in for your design system, and we'll talk through a real-world example. Okay, so why is buy-in important? Why can't we just have the very cool design system? As Ben shared in his presentation, when design system projects fail, they don't fail for technical reasons. They fail because of people reasons. And the data from our annual design system survey shows that these are the top reported people reasons that design systems fail: a lack of an executive champion, adoption difficulties, staffing difficulties, funding difficulties, maintenance difficulties, and other reasons not captured here. Now, buy-in affects these top 2 causes, the lack of an executive champion and adoption difficulties. As we know, design systems require a good amount of investment up front, but the lasting results dramatically cut organizations' time to construct and launch new digital properties. But those results only come when the tool is used how it should be, when it is widely implemented, and when everyone adheres to the standards set out in the design system. When our teams are on board with our design system, when they understand the importance of consistent use of the system and the way it facilitates efficient work, adoption rates go up. And those folks turn into evangelists of the system. When members of leadership understand the second part of this slide, when they recognize how a design system enables the things they care about, they too become supporters of your design system. We'll get a bit more into this later. But we also learn a lot about our design system itself when we have buy-in, when our teams are using the system as intended. Buy-in shows us that we built the right thing, that a design system was the solution we needed, and that it helps our teams solve their problems. Buy-in also shows us that we built the tool the right way. When folks adopt the system, it shows us that the system is accessible and usable for those who work with its components to build web properties. And buy-in leads us towards a cohesive, tested, and accessible experience for our end users. And I know we're all always working towards a better experience for our users. So how do we build the critical investment that's needed for our design system? Step 1 is to start by crafting and documenting your overall why. As any project manager or digital professional can tell you, stakeholders usually don't care about the what or even the how as much as the why. It likely won't matter to them that your chosen solution is a design system when they understand the benefits that system will bring. When crafting your why, think about your existing problems that the design system could solve. Think about what future problems the design system can mitigate. And consider what benefits a design system can bring to your organization. Think accessibility, tested components, usability, consistency, conversion, and brand trust. If you need to build buy-in amongst executive stakeholders, remember what Ben said about knowing your customer. Think about the outcomes that are important to them and make sure those are spoken to in your why. It can be really helpful in this step to have an immediate existing problem that you know the design system will solve. People often struggle with grasping the idea of a design system, and a specific use case or two can help make the purpose and application of the design system more real. I also think it's worth noting that documenting the why of your design system is valuable for more than just building buy-in. This can carry and evolve during the life of your design system, keeping you steadily focused on the ultimate goal and needs for the system. And as with any successful new initiative, you also need to build allies. A design system is meant to empower your teams, so this is the point where we'll want to select specific individuals who will be especially empowered by the design system and bring them into the project for their early support. I think there are 3 guidelines to call out when selecting these important supporters. Number 1, pick someone who is powerful and influential, those high influence folks we talked about earlier. They can be an advocate for the system in important circles that you may not frequent. Pick someone who, when using the design system, will have a lot of impact, someone for whom the design system is a huge win. And finally, pick someone who can explain the benefits that a design system will have to your specific digital properties. Oftentimes, this person is more technical, like a developer, and has experience creating, modifying, and otherwise interacting with your digital properties, so they can speak from experience about how a design system will be beneficial. These allies will do important work educating others, building investment, and nurturing alliances with other members of your organization. Step 3, identify additional key stakeholders in the project. These might not be your allies, but they are people who should be kept aware of the status of the project because they can influence your budget, your implementation, the long-term governance of the system, or further buy-in from other members of your organization. Document the milestones along the project where you want to present your progress and wins to these stakeholders. Make sure they are kept sufficiently aware of how the project is going and how you are reaching your goals. It's important to also understand the limitations or requirements of your project in relation to these allies and stakeholders. You'll want to consider how these relationships can affect your project timeline. Do you need to prioritize certain features or elements that need to get to integration quicker? Will any of your allies use your design system to solve their problems, increasing adoption? If so, do we need to shape this project in any way to help address the things our allies are struggling with? What might be their unique needs, and how should those be prioritized? Some other limitations of your project that might affect buy-in. Should your design system be platform-specific or platform-agnostic? Are there important budget constraints for the design system or for implementation that you'll need to adjust for? Do you have an urgent date by which the design system needs to be rolled out and therefore need to roll out a design system MVP? Or can you take more time and be more comprehensive and thoughtful about your first iteration? Finally, you'll need to make a support plan. It's important to know how you will support people who will be using the design system. How will you roll out updates and make users aware? How will you provide consistent, reliable support for when they have questions or challenges using the system? Letting users know exactly how they will be supported using the system can put their minds at ease when they think about beginning to use this new tool. When they know how they will be kept up to date about changes and what they can do if they run into any problems, it helps them to build trust in the system. Here are just some of the elements that your support plan can include. Platform and browser support. You can send out a regular newsletter with updates about the system. You can have a dedicated Slack channel where people can ask questions or talk about the issues they're facing. You can have designated office hours with the design system support team. You can have versioning so folks know what was updated each time the design system changes. You should have a documented process for how folks can contribute back to the system. And you can conduct regular user surveys to see how folks are using the system and how they feel about what's been implemented. I think this quote by Katie Seiler Miller really sums it up. Your technical approach doesn't matter as much as creating a living, breathing system that's flexible, maintainable, stable, scalable, and successful in the long term. I'm not here to tell you what tools to use or how to build your design system. I'm hoping that this presentation helps you build a system that's flexible, stable, scalable, and successful. Now let's look at a real-life example. We had the immense pleasure of working with the folks on the University of Georgia's online learning team to build a design system. While the project was for their specific department, they hoped that this initiative would eventually help the system become a tool that could be used by the whole university. We started with a discovery project with UGA, during which we outlined the goals of our design system project. But unlike many other web projects, this session not only included the goals of our project together, but the goals for the design system even after our initial project was complete. Through that session, we were able to come out with our why for the design system, to ultimately create an easily navigable, consistent user experience for UGA students. Early in the project, we worked with the Office of Online Learning team to identify early adopters and relevant stakeholders who should be involved in the project. We worked on not only who should be involved, but also when and how. In fact, our project plan noted when we would bring each stakeholder into the project, the amount and limitations on how they would be allowed to contribute, and when we would bring them in for project demos. This helped me feel confident as a project manager, mitigating the risk of too many cooks in the kitchen, but also helped our UGA and Sparkbox team know when the key moments in our project were to bring in others and how we'd approach those milestones. I love this quote from Nancy at the Office of Online Learning about building stakeholders. It's helpful to recognize that you don't have to get everyone's buy-in at once, but you do want to be strategic about who you build your partnerships with and in what order. I think that was one of the greatest successes of the project. The online learning team made a strategic plan for building buy-in, and they didn't rush through that plan. They know that lasting impact takes time. Building allies and bringing in stakeholders takes time. It doesn't have to happen all at once, but it should happen intentionally. Then, because we knew our goals and stakeholders, it helped us to know very clearly the limitations of the project. We knew we wanted to stick to a specific budget. We had a detailed and prioritized list of elements to add to the design system. We knew it needed to be easy for folks to implement and work with after our project was over, and that it should be scalable and able to grow beyond this unique project. As the design system progressed and the Office of Online Learning diligently worked to build buy-in in the tool that we were building, the results were astounding. The more folks knew about the project, the tool, and the problems it could solve, the more excitement spread. UGA has been asked to present on their work with the design system multiple times, spreading awareness, excitement, and desire for greater use of this tool. By the end of the design system build project, we had 2 eager early adopters, including one who represents over half of UGA's websites, and buy-in from key members of the Office of Marketing and Communications. The design system is now in a place where it can be versioned, added to, and implemented by users of the design system. We are so thrilled to hear of the continued success UGA Online Learning has had with their design system. The system is already being implemented on multiple UGA websites by the Office of Online Learning team and their early adopters. While the team will continue to work diligently to build buy-in across their organization, I know they'll be successful because they are invested in their why and have taken intentional steps to cultivate buy-in from important, invested, influential supporters. It truly does take a village to raise a sustainable, efficient design system. Thank you.